Allison, thank you. 1 month after Colorado Springs Utilities raised rates for customers, the company gave large employee raises totaling millions of dollars. You asked us to look into whether higher utility bills went to pay for those employee raises. Here's what our chief investigative reporter Eric Ross found out.
Public records we reviewed on CSU's own website show the utility company increased its salary budget by more than $16 million this year. We later learned through an interview with the CEO that some employees got pay raises of more than 13%. And as you're about to hear, the utility CEO stands by the raises, explaining the adjustments were needed to attract new employees and retain quality ones. He also said that the raises he signed off on have nothing to do with the higher utility bills you may have received over the last couple of months. As we reported on November 9th, the Utilities Board approved a customer rate hike for natural gas and electricity, driving up the average homeowner's bill by approximately $28.52. Then, 1 month later, on December 8th, we learned the utilities CEO sent this internal memo to all employees about base pay increases taking effect on December 26th. But CEO Aram Benyamin says the timing is just a coincidence, telling us your higher utility bills are not connected with the raises he gave employees.
That adjustment had nothing to do with the labor markets that we are trying to compete with the region.
Help the public understand how pay raises are not directly correlated with rising utility costs.
So we have two parts to our rate structure. So one, what we call a base rate, are the rates that we keep constant. And then we have a variable portion of our rates, which are the fuel cost adjustments based on the electric generation and gas distribution.
Benyamin says the rate increase from November solely went to make up for the rise in fuel costs, nothing more. It was the second rate hike utilities passed on to customers last year. Turning to employees' salaries, Benyamin says they did a market analysis and made salary adjustments to keep up with current market trends.
This is basically for recruiting, retaining and training and holding on to the workforce that we need to operate the utilities.
Prior to these market rate adjustments going into effect to bolster people's salaries, did utilities have a problem with retention?
The answer is yes. We have seen employees choose to go to entities that actually have those adjusted salaries.
And Utilities Board member Wayne Williams agrees that raises were needed.
We need to be able to make sure that we attract and retain good employees.
And you may agree that with inflation, the dollar doesn't stretch as far as it used to. But one concern the viewer who tipped us off to this story had was that if these raises were not connected with higher utility rates and everything was on the up and up, why not just be transparent about it and discuss it in an open setting at a board meeting?
Because it's not an approval item, we didn't have it on the board agenda as an approval item because our budget as a whole gets approved.
To elaborate on Benyamin's statement, in August, the Utilities Board works on a general budget, and salaries are part of that budget. But when it comes to specific modifications to salaries, there's no requirement for CSU to do that publicly. Why wasn't this raise put out in a public forum during one of the Utilities Board meetings to inform the public?
The Board for Colorado Springs Utilities sets the annual budget. Specific decisions within that budget are up to the CEO and the executive leadership team.
In other words, the Utilities Board always signs off on a general budget, but Benyamin has final say on how certain buckets of money are allocated.
I want to have the best workforce out there that's best trained, best equipped, and the most effective workforce that we could create. And this helps us in getting that accomplished.
And the very next day following that interview, the Utilities Board met and approved a rate decrease for customers. Benyamin says you can expect to save on average about $15 on your next bill. And he also stated the Utilities Board will likely consider another rate decrease this April. Again, Benjamin reiterates tonight that those rate increases and decreases deal with market factors like gas and electric costs, not labor costs. Now, to learn more about how your utilities bill is generated, just head over to the web version of this story on KOAA.com. I'm Chief Investigative Reporter Eric Ross.